Hello and welcome to Steve's Backyard Bonsai. This is my privet. I have not really ever known what to do with this tree. I had cut major branches off, but I've never been really happy with it. You're looking more or less at the front that I had selected for it, so you could see all three of these main branches. They don't come from the same spot. Well, these two do, but this one comes from below. So I thought it would be okay to have three branches, and I still do. But it doesn't branch out until way up here, and this branch in particular is a big old log from here to here with no taper at all. So I've been staring at this tree and staring at this tree. That was the front. It doesn't show the root spread as good as some of these other fronts. So I'm going to nullify this in terms of the front. I still would like to see three branches, but I think my branching needs to start happening down here. So this is a chop. Let's get to it. Here are some of the things I've considered doing with this tree. I've considered bringing these branches down and have it be like, you know, a sprawling tree. And I still like that idea of a sprawling tree, but I've really let this overgrow, mainly because I haven't had the courage to come in here and do what really needs to be done. And that is taking this branch down to here and these branches down as well. I've got to regrow this tree. I think it has a nice start with these three branches, or this trunk and these two branches, or this trunk and this branch. This is the main trunk for sure. But I've got a lot of trees and I've got some time, so why not give this one a chance to grow differently? And I also I pulled all the weeds out except for this wild strawberry, and the reason I did that is that this may go nicely in a penging somewhere. I had just seen a video that Chris Marshall had done, and if you're not familiar with Chris Marshall, you really owe it to yourself to find his channel. It's CM Bonsai, CM as in Chris Marshall. He's from the UK, and he grows absolutely beautiful trees. And some of his pengings have some really cool understory plants. I'd never thought of using wild strawberry before. And that's just one of the things I've learned from Chris. So please check him out. I'll put a link to his channel in the description below. All right, here we go. From anywhere you look at it. Now there's a little branch scar here, a branch scar here. I can probably get leaves happening or branches happening from this low. So that's where I'm going to start, and I'll use my ratcheting pruners from Ironwood Tools to do it. 2, 3, so 4. Wow. That has to be what happens. Now see, even this is a little bit too much. And I would love the taper to start happening even lower. But I think I'm going to stick with this. I'll get some tight bond glue on there and let the regrowing begin. Now the reason I'm being so bold this time of year, it's the coming up to the middle portion of August, is I see privet hedges all over the neighborhood, and they prune them once or twice in the season, and the ones that were just pruned this week are already growing back. So I think I have a chance. All right, so next big cut. I'm still using the Ironwood pruners, but I wanted to clean that up there. Let me just take these suckers out. And This one, there's not going to be any foliage on this tree when I'm done with it today, unfortunately. I also want to prune these wild strawberries. They're just a little bit too long. They're getting in the way. And I'd like to see what happens when you do prune them. All right, the main trunk. And I'm hoping I get branches everywhere. If I'm happy with what I get, I'll start selecting them right away next year, or even this year, if I get any growth at all. But I'm going to take this one back to here. It's my main trunk. I think I'll go a little lower. Right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh goodness. So if I've been so bold with those, and this is the weakest trunk, I think it's got to be lower than everything else. I do see buds there, or branch scars there. I also see them down low here. I'm going to go right there. So this is the 3rd year for this privet in this pot. I picked it up at Walmart. It was marked as a forsythia. I got discussing that with the attendant there, and I said, how can you sell this as a forsythia? It's definitely not a forsythia. And they said, well, maybe we can do something. And they came back and they took 25% off the price, which was already reduced. So I wasn't unhappy with that. Really should go lower with that, shouldn't I? And I will. I'm going to get some glue on there as cut paste. I'm going to move on to something else. That's not bad right there. You know, I know there are better alternatives for cut paste. But I'm going to use this for a while and see how I like the results. I do like that it's clear. It's a little bit yellow when it's dry, but it's mostly invisible. Now when you use an anvil cutter, you do get a little bit of crushing on the back end of the tree, which will heal. But if it peels down a little bit, you got to get some glue on there as well. Here it just broke away. All right, so let's look at this. Now, just for scale, here's my hand. And the proportions of this tree tell me that the canopy, you know, wants to be about this wide and about this high. So I'm gonna have to really watch out for those branches when they come out, and just select the ones that I want to have grow, not have that big spread of branches that I know I'm not gonna need. Those of you who have worked with Privet, I guarantee you've worked with Privet a lot longer than I have. So tell me what to expect. I think I know what to expect. As I said, it's been in this pot for 3 years, and when I cut it down, I get those little, I get the you know, the menagerie of branches. But that's a nice front right there. This comes forward, this heads back. This is my back branch. Very nice, very nice. Let's go. All right, next up are my Lantana. I haven't wanted to touch these because they've been blooming for weeks now, and I need to get in and deadhead them. But here's a new blossom right next to an old segment that I have to deadhead now. And I'll take away some of these large leaves as well. So this whole segment here has bloomed, and I can cut it back. Then I'm just going to cut off the flower stalks. Now sometimes these get little fruit at the end of them. Let me see if I can show you one. I mean, you never know when it's going to happen, but there you go. There's two of the little fruit. Here's one with one little fruit on it. And it's not like these had fruit and they fell off. This one did. But I've planted these and they've grown. There's a lot of cobwebs on here. Got to clean this all out. But I don't need them anymore. And they're sapping energy from the tree. Take that whole segment off. Take this whole segment off. If it's going to bloom, then by all means, let it bloom. I'm not going to cut this off until those are done. I just love lantana flowers. Multiple colors in one flower. Fantastic. Got to try lantana. And very, very hard and stiff wood. But this is growing a little bit too close to the inside there. Too bad. Every branch has the potential of having flowers. But you can't have too many branches. Tree has some nice structure to it. It's, let's see, it's probably 3 years in this pot, and before that it was growing in my flower garden. This was an annual that my wife picked up. I can't cut that one yet, but it's a nice branch. I will be cutting it back to here after that blooms. Beautiful branch. Large leaves that aren't very attractive anymore. And something's been eating it. I don't know what. I don't see any bugs on it. And I don't know if you can see it, but at each leaf intersection, there are new leaves coming out. I don't know if you can see that. So cutting these leaves off gives the smaller leaves an opportunity to grow on and contribute to a much more miniature looking tree. I've got another 3 of these to go through. So as I was saying, I planted some of the seeds and I did get some baby lantana growing, so that's fun. Got to bring it indoors though in the wintertime, because otherwise this is an annual. I'm gonna cut this back. Cutting a lot of the big leaves off. That one just fell off. And I should clean that up. Another flower happening there, so I can't cut that. Some very dense growth growing back here, so. And this is one of those trees that I like to let it do its thing, because its thing is those beautiful flowers. All right, not bad. Let me get the next one. All right, here's another one. I can't tell you what color the flowers are, but they were different than the other ones. There's only one flower stalk on this guy. Just trying to remove some of the interior growth. Just gonna let it fall down. And these all came from the same summertime batch of lantana. There were different kinds that were growing in the garden. I think I either saw someone with a lantana bonsai on the internet, and I think that's what it was. I don't think I decided myself that this would be a good bonsai. Cut it back a little bit. There are buds. Can't really see that. This branch is coming right at us. Yeah, that opens it up a little bit. Got a crazy transition there. I'm going to try and clean that up a little bit. It doesn't behave quite like a tree, but it's pretty cool. Here's a little branch going from a bad spot. And let's see if I get any more flowers this season. Some of the other ones are still blooming. That's a little better. Let me get the next one. Here's the next lantana. This one has a flower on it. I hope you can see the orange and the yellow, or the deeper orange and the bright something. But this one needs deadheading. There's a lot of flowers on this one. There was a lot of flowers. Here's two up here. Take it back to there. Here's one, but there's a new flower coming, so I'm going to just take off the deadhead. Here's one that just stopped blooming. Take this one back to here. An extra branch coming out. It doesn't quite behave like a tree, but kind of looks like one, right? Do I want this? No. Now you can see that beautiful curve. I'll come back a little more here. Take the tip off of this, as long as there's no flower coming out. This one seems to have a flower coming. That one seems to have a flower coming. This has two, but it also has two deadheads. I'll take off. New flower coming here. Just take the old flower stalks off. New flower there. Remove this whole branch. I'm going to remove that whole branch. Open that structure back up. Yeah, not bad. Just remove any damaged leaves. And that's one more pruned up. This one has lovely, lovely pink flowers. It's like gradient pink. This one's almost done. And there's some to take off here, some deadheads to take off, some damaged leaves to take off. I wish I knew what was eating this. Looks like Japanese beetle, but I haven't seen any. No little caterpillars. At night I sometimes see these cricket-looking things walking on the trees, but I haven't seen them lately. That's a weak branch in there. I'm going to take that off. A crazy little branch here. Big deadhead here. Let me take that down. You know, I think those blooms need to come off. Little spider. Not a spider mite though. Turning on my thermocell again. I'm also wearing a insect repellent. The insect repellent I made myself from a recipe I saw on YouTube, and the ingredients are 1 teaspoon of cinnamon oil, 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract, 1 tablespoon of vodka, and 1.5 cups of water in a spray bottle. It smells kind of nice. Very strong though. And definitely want to reapply. Oh, Luca, let's go inside and put on some insect repellent, okay? Let's got this guy pruned up a bit. I always do that. I say, that's got this one pruned up, and then I look and there's more to prune. That happens to everybody. All right, that's it for my lantana. Let's see what else I can have a blast with. Sorry about the bright sunlight. This is a Chinese elm, which was a cutting from my Central Park penjing. And I'm just gonna cut it back to what I think makes sense. I like that little branch down there, but this big one I'm taking off. This one grows back toward the center of the tree. Take the whole thing off. I want this thing really small. Got a little branch down there. Take that one right back to there. So now my little tiny Chinese elm is even tinier. Get the tip off of that. I'll leave the tip on there. And there we go. I have another one of these. I'll bring it right out. Before I do, let me just spin it around. Love my tiny trees. This one's pretty healthy. Here's another little Chinese elm. Also a cutting from Central Park. Got a branch growing toward the center. The whole section of a branch needs to come off. Clean that up. Tiny little dead branch here. Tiny little branch back there, but I think I'm going to leave it. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to cut it off. This one comes up and divides, or has a branch here and a branch here. I'm going to shorten them both to an outward facing leaf. I'm going to trim the bottom leaf off. Take this little branch off back here. I'll take the top right off of that. Take it off here. I'm going to trim this off. I'm going to trim this off. This is crossing. I'm going to take this back to here. Give that a chance to develop in this direction. This goes way out here before it branches off, but it does branch off. I'm going to take this one back to here. This one back to here. And this big tall one, I'm going to go to here. That prunes up this little Chinese elm. May it grow and prosper. Just a little cutting. Let's see what else I have. Well, let me zoom up on this one first. A small tree. Kind of a neat structure. All right, let's see if this does anything. If I can't find anything else, I'll close out this video session and call it a day. My new grandson is on his way. Next up today, this might be the last one, but I think I have one more I want to prune after this. This is the Royal Oak, which was sent to me by Matt Brennan. It's doing great. This oak has English origin. It was grown from an acorn that was sent to Matt by Tony of Tony's Bonsai. So this tree means a lot to me. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to clean up this stub right here. Nothing grew from it, but I did get a branch below. So I'm going to try and make a nice cut here. And let that grow. However, this is getting a bit too long. So I'm going to cut it down to here. Beautiful. Probably nothing. I tried this in another pot when I pruned this earlier in the season. Just going to leave that there. Let's see, I have 2 branches here. This one growing on the inside, I don't want. I'm gonna let that one grow. And this one, I'm gonna cut back to here. I got an outward facing leaf there. I don't have a front for this, although I kind of like this side as the front. Just gonna cut a stub here. All right, I'll come back to this in a little bit. I've got to step away and greet my new grandson. Not for the first time, but first time in this house. So my grandson and my daughter and her husband have left. It's time for me to finish my royal oak. I'm debating about this branch right here, but I think I'm going to leave it, and I think I'm going to take off this thick one in favor of this long one here. So here I go. Hope that was the right move. And let me cut this down to here. This to here. I'm going to leave that one to grow because it's going to take the place of this one that I cut off. And I think I'll take this to here. All right. That's my royal oak all trimmed up. Wait a minute, what about this back branch? I think because it's growing up that way, I'm just going to take the growing tip off of it. See what happens. All right, so let me put this back on the bench, and I think I have one more tree I want to work on. Well, let me just spin this around first. Damaged leaf, let me cut that off. Looks pretty good. All right, my ginkgo looks pretty good. It's rather healthy. A few things I have to clean up. Clean up that pruning stub. I'm going to use this by shears. There's one here as well. Pruning stub here. I left these on, but they're not doing anything. I'm going to cut them off. Now, it's getting a little too tall up here. Not too bad. Notice how I got a short internode there, and then they get longer. I'm going to cut it down to the short internode on this side. And this is a pruning stub. And which one should I cut this one down to? I'm going to cut this big long leaf off. And this long leaf. Alright, so if I want something to grow out this way, I'm going to want something to grow out this way, so this part's coming off. And that is my Ginkgo biloba. And that's all for today. Thank you for keeping me company in my backyard.